Alright guys, what's up? I'm heading to my uncle's barn right now with the 210, and it's Thanksgiving break, and I have a little time. And my uncle needs to make some space in the barn because he's got some hay and stuff that he's got to store in there. So I'm going to go bring home the Yard King. I figured that would be a good winter project because it's not, I don't need to do a whole restore on it. Oh, don't do the mud here. I'm not going to do a whole restore on the tractor. It hasn't run in like 5 years, my friend told me. So I'm going to just get it home and seafoam it and rebuild the carb and do whatever it takes to get it running. I'll clean it up a little bit, pressure wash it, and give it a tune-up, sharpen the blades and change the oil and all that typical stuff. And then I'll have it sold by spring. And it's a small tractor, so space isn't much of a concern. I'll probably end up working on it in my grandfather's garage anyway, because right now it's between, putting up Christmas decorations and stuff, it's just too much of a hassle with trying to make room, and since this tractor stays in the garage now, so I'm going to park it in the shed. The LA 150's out at our friend's farm getting serviced right now. He's going to check the electrical problem for us once and for all, so it's out of there, and then once we get it back, we're going to try and sell it, so it's not going to be back, once it gets back to our house, it's not going to be there for long anyway. So now I have some room to work on the Yard King, and then by spring I'll have it all out, and I can buy a new mower, so we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to get a tow strap from my uncle and bring it home with this tractor real slowly. Right now I got to blow the tires up on the Yard King or else it won't move, so I have a little tank here in my uncle's shop, and I'm just waiting for the compressor to build up so I can fill it up and take it over and blow the tires up. Here's a 318. You can see she's got a lot of wear already because my uncle didn't wax it after he repainted her. She still runs and drives perfect, but it's just, she's all scratched up. It's hard to keep it clean though. Okay guys, so the Yard King's finally home. We'll just take another look at her since I didn't really get to make a thorough video when it was parked in the barn back in June, but now we can see it in broad daylight, so it's a little easier to check out. I didn't get any footage of us dragging it home yesterday because it was a little bit of a hassle. My cousin, I was up in my uncle's place, he was selling Christmas trees, and he asked my cousin to come out, and my cousin actually ended up sitting on it and steering it for me. And that actually made it a lot better, because you got to have two people doing this anyway, so it's not dragging everywhere. Yeah, so the 210 pulled it pretty good. I went mudding the other day. I got it down in a deep mud puddle and got mud all over it, as you guys probably saw. And the mud must have gotten in the dry belt because I've noticed it's having a little bit of a hard time trying to get up to full speed, but that just needs to be hosed out. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean that 210's got power. Those little Peerless transmissions can pull. I mean, it's a garden tractor, of course it can handle it, but I mean, I'm about 150 pounds. My cousin's probably 180 or 190, and then it was pulling both of us, and then this little thing, which is probably about another 400 pounds. So it pulled it though. It pulled it up a couple hills. I had to take the long way around my grandparents' house, so I didn't have to pull it up that steep hill because it wouldn't do it. But I pulled it through the mud a couple times. It was good though. It was kind of fun. So yeah. Anyway, here's the Yard King again. I can't believe how small this thing is. I mean, let me see if I can show you. I mean, I'm 5'5.5", and it's about up to my waist. So yeah, that's maybe one of the smallest riding mowers I've ever seen. And everyone thinks the Craftsmans are small. But yeah. And the LA 150 is still bigger than this, and I can tell just by looking at it. But it's a very compact little mower. Both of the tires, the back tires, have leaks in them. The back right is leaking worse so. It's funny because the 210 has a leak in the back right tire too. And this one's got a little bit of a leak in it too. That's no big deal. I can just take the tires off and seal them up. The tires aren't too bad. These are, I believe these are Carlisle Turf Saver 2s. Or something like that, Turf Masters or something. They don't look to be too worn, because I mean this tractor hasn't been used in about 5 or 6 years. My friend's dad had it. He bought it used when he bought his house a few years ago, and it took him 6 hours to cut the grass with it because it's a gear drive and you gotta clutch it, and it's got this tiny little 38-inch deck on it. So he just quit and he hired someone to do it, and it just sat. And I never got to take a good look at it until I actually brought it home, because all these years that I saw it sitting in his shed, I thought it was a Craftsman. Because, I mean, from a distance, it kind of looks like one, but it's a Murray, and Murray's been out of business since 2005, I think. The real Murray, not the crappy MTD Murray. MTD bought them out, and MTD screws everyone out of business. Just like they're doing with Cub Cadet. But I'm not going to get into that. This is why I stick with John Deere's, but I don't know much about these, but I'm sure I think these use a lot of like common like consumer level parts and things like that, like you can buy from Stens and all the aftermarket companies. So I can get some good cheap parts for it, and overall it's not in too bad shape. I mean, I'm gonna it's actually got a metal hood, which is really surprising for something like this. I mean, it's heavy, but it's not something you see at all anymore. And it's got these really small side panels on it too, which is kind of funny. But what's even funnier is that it doesn't even hold together. I mean, look at that. The grill's plastic, but it's just bolted in. I mean, you know, it's an entry-level lawn tractor. It's not going to be anything fancy. Here's the motor. I mean, you can see all the grease and oil in there, and it needs a good power washing. The throttle, this is like a lot of the new ones. You have the throttle and the choker in the same lever, so you have to bring it all the way up to full throttle to choke it, which is really stupid because you're starting in a full throttle, and that's not good, especially if the motor's cold. This lever's a little tight. It just needs to be greased, but you can see your governor and choke spring in there. And here's the air filter. A lot of motors are built like this. Even the Kohlers and some of the old Kawasaki's are built like this. But this is small. It's a little industrial commercial series, which are supposed to be pretty good motors. Obviously it's a single cylinder vertical shaft. Nothing much. It's got a manual PTO clutch. You can see the clutch down there. There's no electromagnet. It's got this lever that you have to plop forward like a lot of this consumer level mowers. Most of them have them on the right, though, like the John Deere's have them on the right. I've never seen one on the left like that. I didn't get a lot of close-ups on this in the other video, so I'm trying to let you guys see some of it now. It's got a little fuel filter there. It's got this tiny gas tank. I mean, that's probably not even, that's probably like 1 3/4 gallon tank. It's smaller than the one the LA 150's got. Here's a little muffler. It's a little pancake muffler with that little cover on the end so it doesn't burn the plastic, and the muffler's rusted out, so I think what I'll do is I'll take the pancake muffler that I had on the 210 and put that on there, because I still have it. I just used it for a little bit. It's not in bad shape. Wiring harness just got crap all over it. It's actually very simple. I mean, there's only one connection in there. It's hard to see. I can't get it with the phone, but all it is, I mean, this is for the starter, and then this is for the headlights. You got your hood hinges there, and there's the tags on the motor, the little Briggs motor. The fenders are really narrow. It's got these tiny little rests, and it's all stamped. The fender is part of the frame. It's all stamped, and you can see it's got a steel front axle, which is pretty cheap. There's your oil drain, petcock, and the oil tube. The oil's actually pretty good. It's not, I mean, it's dirty, obviously, but it's it definitely has enough. That's all gonna get changed anyway. I'm gonna grease this thing up and sharpen the blades and everything. The mower deck lifting shaft on this is a little funny. It's down, the pulleys, or the rock shaft is like off to the side like this, and it's only held up with one lever. With one link. I don't know how they managed to make that work, but it is, and it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to lift. It's got 6 positions, and even the highest one seems a little bit low, but whatever. I'm not using it to cut my grass. So, and you got this little shifter here. It's got a Peerless 6-speed in it with neutral and reverse. Obviously, it's a shift on the go. So I don't know if you can actually like clutch and go, but I guess I'll find out when I get it running. And it's a little tricky. It has a bit of play in it too. But I mean, the whole thing actually slides in and out. If you can see there, I'm not even shifting gears. Just you gotta pull it out and then drop it into another gear. That'll take some getting used to. That's for darn sure. Trailer hitch plate with that little custom hitch bolt in it. Serial number tag. 3532. Now these old Murrays, their serial numbers were tricky. The 2 means it was made in 1992, and the 353 means it was made on the 353rd day. So that's December 18th, 1992, if I'm correct. If it's not a leap year, I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to check that. But it was built almost 21 years ago. So I didn't think this thing was that old, but apparently it is. Yeah, that's just a general look at it. The mower belt's not in bad shape. You see how these manual clutches work is it's obviously not electric, so when you move the lever forward, it puts tension on the belt and slides the belt onto the clutch, which is already spinning, and just makes the belt spin. So it makes it's like a tensioner, basically. Let's see. The bearings in the deck are junk. I mean, it's really hard to move. It needs to be worked a little bit. It's not too bad. Probably just because it has the belt on it, but I'll probably have to replace them anyway. It's probably got some crap, some cheap end bearings in it. Here's your middle drive pulley down there. I got to take this deck off and look at it, but there's your rack and pinion steering in there, which is pretty simple. This is the equivalent to a Murray 3812. I'm not much of a Murray person. Like, I don't know much about them, but this is basically the equivalent. This is one of the knockoffs that they made. It's like a John Deere Scott or Sabre, but this is made by Murray. This panel's starting to come off. When we dragged it home yesterday, look, you can even see. This is actually the green paint from the 210. When we dragged it home yesterday, my cousin didn't push the clutch in far enough to stop, because he was asking me how to work the brake. I mean, he knows how to clutch on a tractor works because he drives the Ford loaders, but he only pushed it in a little bit. He didn't push it in all the way, so it crashed into the back of the 210 when I stopped, and the 210 wasn't hurt, which is a darn good thing. But this got a little bent out of place, and the paint got scuffed off. But it's not that noticeable. It's no big deal. Oh well. I thought that was kind of funny. This one's got a flip-up seat with the battery under the seat. This battery's probably junked too. Both of the terminals leaked. I gotta clean that up. You can check the water in them. I'll check that too. There's a solenoid, which is really weird that it's in the back here. But I'd rather have it close to the battery anyway. This is where all the wiring is. It's really kind of weird. And look, if you look under the fender, you can't see it in there, but there's like nothing, just dirt and junk. I'll give that a good cleaning. But yeah, that's the gist of it. I mean, this tractor could use a good cleaning, and I'm not sure what it'll take to get it running, but it can't be anything too bad. I mean, it's not like the motor threw a rod or anything. It's just been sitting for a while, so I'll probably pour some oil into the cylinder and get it worked a little bit, then drain it, change the oil, and put fresh gas in it. I'll definitely seafoam it because it's going to need it. It really needs a cleaning. I'll probably end up changing the fuel line anyway, because this tank's got a lot of crap in it. And we'll just pressure wash and get all the stuff out of it, and it shouldn't be too bad. I'll change that filter too. But I'll see if I can rig up the muffler from the 210 on that, because it's the same thing basically. And I'll rebuild the carburetor if worse comes to worse. It probably will need a rebuild, but I have a can of carburetor dip in the garage, so yeah, I'll sit on it real quick just to see how, give you a feel for it. I mean, it's very uncomfortable. It's a low back seat, and you got this big hump in the middle. And the 210, the old John Deere's are like that, but this one's even worse. And this, I can't even, I'm 5'5", and I can't even reach the, it's hard, I can barely even push the clutch in all the way. So this seat has an adjustment somewhere, I think, but I gotta mess around with it a little bit. The seat's in good shape, though. It feels pretty good. Key switch, this key's a little funky. The key from the 210 will actually fit this. A lot of those INDAC keys, because it's the same key as this. Ignition switch, PTO clutch like I showed you earlier, throttle and choke like I showed you earlier. And then here's the ammeter gauge, which actually has numbers on it. The John Deere's, I don't think they do. I don't think the 210 has one, but the steering is really tight. There's a lot of play in it too. I mean, look at that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I complain about because I'm all about quality and durability, but you know, it's an entry-level lawn tractor, so it's not going to be anything fancy. And it's not like I'm keeping this thing anyway, because I would not want to use this to mow. So yeah, so you gotta, you know, clutch it, and then when you push the clutch, it makes it a lot easier, obviously. But it's still a pain. Mower deck lift. But yeah, so that's my winter project. I'll sell this, get some money, and I can buy a new mower. I'm looking to get an F-Series front deck mower, or maybe even a zero-turn or a walk-behind. I'm not, with the big lawns, I'm not so crazy about a walk-behind, even if it has a sulky or a ride-on thing behind it. But I'll probably get a front deck mower, because they got the liquid cool motors, and some of them have hydraulic lift, and they can go as fast as a zero-turn and turn like a zero-turn too. But they have steering wheels, so it's like riding a tractor and a zero-turn. So, but anyway, let's not get too ahead of myself. There you guys go. My new project, and I'll start giving you guys updates on. I just decided to bring it home this weekend. I'm not going to get started on it just yet. I got to figure out how to patch some tires up first. But yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed this video, and now we have a new little project. It shouldn't be too hard, and I'm not going to do a full restore on it because it doesn't really need it. It just needs clean and serviced and get running, and I'll sell it. But yeah, so that's something we have to look forward to, and I'll be posting updates to this thing eventually, so take care, guys.